YouTube, how's it going? Welcome back to Followers Wrath. My name is JD, and today we're doing a very unique video. I had a request by a bunch of my subscribers to showcase how I set up my videos and the methodology I use. So we hit 702 subscribers. I said if we hit 700 subscribers, I'll do a video where I showcase those things. So that is what we're doing today. I'm showcasing how I make my videos, how I set it up, how I edit it, so on and so forth. This is not how I'm going to edit the actual video. Like, this isn't like after I played the game and I'm doing posts. I'll show the program I use, but I'm not going to go through and do all that. This is not going to be a video where I'm going to show the setup, play through, and then show the editing and show the entire process. Maybe in the future I'll do that. Maybe I'll live stream that someday. But what we're doing today is just showcasing what I use software-wise and how I set it up. And there might be a better methodology out there, honestly. There could be. I've just never done it another way. This is the way I got comfortable with, so it's the way I do it for now. I'm sure I'm going to have to modify this when I get to Gen 3. But let's go ahead and dive into it. So first thing I want to showcase is my desktop. Hope you like my background. Big Back to the Future fan. And on the left side, there's a bunch of games here. I don't have a lot of memory on my computer, so you're going to see there's not a lot of modern games. The last modern game I played was like Baldur's Gate, and I can only really have one modern game on at a time because there's such big files. I think I had Baldur's Gate before that. I had Gotham Knights, and then I didn't play that very well. That wasn't a very fun game. And then before that, I had Hogwarts Legacy. And the next game I'm probably going to put on here is Star Wars Outlaws. That's probably the next one. But regardless of that, let's go ahead and showcase. And you'll see here, like I said, a lot of old games like Roller Coaster Tycoon, Rome Total War. If you look up here, there's the original Roller Coaster Tycoon. You have Stronghold, Crusaders 1 and 2, Risk, a whole bunch of games on here. Here's Might and Magic's one of my favorite games. The Battle for Middle-earth is, I have a whole series on this channel about it. So there's a whole bunch of games on there that I just will never get rid of. They're old games and I love them to death. So the first thing I'm going to do is open up my documents folder, and I have one whole folder dedicated, a subfolder I should say, dedicated to playing through Pokemon. Now before I dive into actual software I start off with, I'm going to showcase that I did used to use a different software. It's called Virtual Boy Advanced. This was how I played through. I played through with this, and I did use the program I'm going to showcase first, which is Universal Pokémon Randomizer. And basically it modifies your starter, and then you can use this and play through. However, this does not work with Scott Thoug's overlay. So Scott Thoughts does a lot of the software that I'm going to talk about. I'll give him credit where credit's due. He created a bunch of stuff. He created the overlay. He created a website called Pokebytes that sets up and makes it so it displays your stats in real time. A whole bunch of things. But before I used his software that he's graciously given to a lot of people, but he's given it to me, is I use Virtual Boy. And the randomizer I'm going to show here in a second works with Virtual Boy as well. So that's why it worked very well. But then I just modified it to work with one other program, and now Scott's stuff works with it. So that's what I'm going to do. But I'll showcase that in a minute. There are some programs I've never actually used. Modify BitHawk with an internal integration tool, never used. PKHeX Delta 64, never used. Ride-On, never used. So these are three softwares I think you can modify the ROM like I do with a program called PKHeX. Just got PKHeX to work, so I'm like, you know what? I don't need to learn any other software. These work just fine. This is everything I want to do. And you're going to see in here also there's some ROMs. But let's go ahead and look at setup software right here. And we have two programs in here, but I'm going to go ahead and go over Universal Pokémon Randomizer. So Universal Pokémon Randomizer can still be downloaded to this day. You can find it. I'm not going to full screen this because you really won't be able to see it. You probably can't see it very well right now, but it is what it is. I don't have a way. But here's what it looks like full screen. Yeah, I don't want to do that. I want to center it so you can see it easier. And everything's grayed out until we select the ROM. So we're going to hit Open ROM. And we have a couple options here, but we're going to go ahead and set up Pokemon Crystal because it's going to showcase more options that I have to set this up. So here, yeah, okay, Pokemon Crystal. So the first thing I always do is hit miscellaneous tweaks and hit fast text. This is the fastest text in the game. There is actually one that's faster. I'll showcase it, but I click that just in case I forget to do it in the next part of this setup. So that's what I always do. And I'll showcase that there's a whole bunch of stuff here. I've never used anything other than fast text and setting up my starter and one other thing that I click on. But you have field items. You can randomize where items are in the game. You can randomize where HMs and TMs are. You can modify wild Pokemon, so on and so forth. I think you can eliminate like catch radius, or you can make it so that the catching is a lot easier. I've never used that, so it's not something I'm going to talk too much about. But what I will talk about here is stats, starters, and trades. So here's what we're going to do. So I'm going to go ahead and showcase how I'm going to set up my next video. So the next video I have, if you didn't see my video on Wednesday, it was Swinub who evolved in the Piloswine, and we played through like that. In this one, what we're going to do is we're going to set up with Piloswine. We're going to set up the actual starter, make our starter actually Piloswine. So I'm going to go ahead and find Piloswine in here. Piloswine right there. There we go. So that'll be our starter, and it's the fire type starter we're substituting in for. So when you'll see when we open up the ROM and we actually play through and pick our Pokemon, it's in order how it is on the table. So Piloswine's on the left, Totodil's in the middle, and Chikorita's on the right. And we chose the fire starter, so our opposition will have a Totodile. When it comes to Piloswine, you can pick all three. We're technically going to have an advantage against two of them. All three of them have moves that are effective against us, so it doesn't really matter. But Totodile is the most neutral because we really don't have a move that's good against Totodile or Feraligatr or whatever, or Croconaw. None of those are going to have good moves. So that's how we would pick that. And there's one other thing we want to pick here. One other thing I want to talk about at least. So if you go to Pokemon Traits, you see here where it says Change Impossible Evos. So this is for a couple Pokemon in Generation 1 specifically, but there's in other games. But in Generation 1, for example, Machoke, Haunter, Kadabra, and Graveler. They cannot evolve unless you actually get a friend and trade your Pokemon. However, if you click this button, those Pokemon will evolve at level 37. They will evolve just like normal. There's nothing that hinders it. It'll let you play through and evolve the Pokemon without having to mimic trading to somebody or something. I think it also does it in Crystal where something is holding an item and it levels up. It does it as well. I think that's what it does for Pokemon Crystal. I've never actually used that. I used to just play through with the Pokemon as it is. But if you ever wanted to play through and you wanted to eliminate the need to have a trade evolution Pokemon and get it evolved, that's how you would do it. You'd click Change Impossible Evos, and that would give you the ability to level up your Pokemon without having to actually trade the Pokemon to another game. So with that being said, we go ahead and save this, and we save this. And we'll just go ahead and write in Piloswine and hit save. I always hit no here and then hit done. So that's done. And then the software resets. So if we wanted to set up another one, say we want to go to Pokemon Blue and set up a playthrough, we can do the same thing. Again, miscellaneous. Apparently there's a lot more options in Generation 1. So there's a bunch of other things here. And then you go here and we're going to change our starter. Let's say we were setting up our Starmie video, which would be sometime next week. So there's Star U, and right underneath it should be Star Me. So right there, oh, my bad. There we go. And then again, we can change the Change Impossible Evos. Like I said, I don't mess with anything else with this. It's the only things I use this for. So that is Universal Pokémon Randomizer in a nutshell. Very easy, very quick. I've never had issues with this. Once I figured it out, like you just saw it, you can literally set up a Pokemon playthrough in 30 seconds. So we're going to go back to the setup software. We're going to go back. And now we're going to get into a program called Shucky. Shucky is a program, it's a emulator that was created that works with the overlay system that Scott Stott has. He created this, or him and his team created this. I don't know if it was him by himself, but at least him and his team have created it. So you open it up, and it looks just like a normal long. If you open up a VGA emulator, it would do the same thing. There's a bunch of other emulators that kind of have a similar look. So we go Open ROM. And we're going to go ahead and we're in Super Shucky. We're going to go back out. And we just set up Piloswine. So let's go ahead and set up Piloswine. It's going to load. And you're going to take about 2 minutes. And just get through the early part of the setup game. Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and do this part. Just because I'm showcasing this. And we'll go ahead and click through really fast. Ladian. I need to play through that Pokemon again. You didn't see it, but I actually have a lot of ROMs set up. I'll showcase you. Actually, I'll just showcase right now. So actually, I have a lot of ROMs in here of setups that I've done a long time ago that in case I want to come back. So here's all the setups I've done. It doesn't really take up that much space, so it's not eating up a lot of memory or anything. But I thought I'd just showcase that. And we do have a lot of ROMs here. Okay, back to this. Alright, blah 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 blah. I usually just, so the way that Super Shucky is actually designed in the software I use, so I'm going to go for Monday, actually, go for Wednesday, is all the people, so in Pokemon Crystal, if you don't know this, there's a lot of people that give you stuff for, on certain days. You get the Heartstone, you get the Pink Bow, so on and so forth. So what happens is, in this game, the way it's designed is all those people are available every day. So that's the good thing about the software. All right. Okay, and like I said, if we were to go click on all these, they're all going to say the ones in order from Piloswine to Totodile to Chikorita, and like I said, we're going to pick Piloswine, and it's going to let us name it. We're not going to name it because I'm going to actually showcase. Actually, I'm not going to showcase it. There's a reason for that. It's like you can actually edit it in the software we're going to use next. So we get that done, and once he stops talking to us, come on, shut up. Okay. Now we're going to go ahead and click on File, and we're going to actually, nope, that's not what we're going to do next. Sorry, my bad. We're going to save really quick. And now that we have a save, we can actually go to File and hit Save Game as New Game, and always put it as default because it's right where we need to go. And it's basically, if we somehow screw up a playthrough and we need to reset up the stuff, we can do that. So I'm going to go ahead and minimize this, and I'm going to go back, and we're going to go back to Setup Software, and I'm going to go ahead and open a program called PKHeX. PKHeX is a really good program. It's a really nice program, and I'm going to go ahead and back out of this real quick. And where did I have this ROM? If you go back to Shucky keeps track of the user data for every save state for every playthrough you've ever done. So if you go in here and we look for Piloswine, right there, we can open it up, and actually I'm going to slide it over here so it's kind of out of the way. And we open up the save state, and default, we slide it over right there. Actually, I will showcase that a little bit better. So if I'm in the Piloswine and I have default, I slide that in right here. If I look at party, that's all I have right now, view. And I'm looking at, I'll go ahead and slide that back over. There we go. And does this get any bigger? It does not get any bigger. So that's not something I can do. I can't make this any bigger. So if the writing's too small, I do apologize. It is not a program I can expand on, okay? So what you do is you right click and hit view, and it lets you see all the stuff on the left side. So Piloswine, and this is where I said we can change his name. So if we want to change him to Bacon, because he is the swine Pokemon, we can change him to Bacon. He starts out level 5. So if we want to start him out level 50, we can change it right there. If we want to change his held item, for a long time when I first started doing Pokemon Crystal videos, I actually started off holding the Amulet coin. So I had more money to play through, but come to find out, you don't need that much money to play through Pokemon Crystal. You can actually change your friendship. You can do a whole bunch of things. You can give it the infected. I don't know what that means, but where you met, you can actually change where you met, what time of day. You can change the stats. So this is where a big modification comes when it comes to playing through with Pokemon Crystal. So in the last playthrough, if you didn't see my video on Wednesday, we played through with Swinub, evolving the Piloswine, and we gave it Hidden Power Rock because I knew we were going to have problems dealing with Charizard. Okay? Charizard was going to be a big problem, and I knew we needed to have a rock move. I knew if we hit it, we one-shot. However, we needed something that could do that. Otherwise, it's going to obliterate us. So I gave it Hidden Power Rock to counter that problem. However, in this coming playthrough this Wednesday, give you a little bit behind-the-scenes look, is we're going to go Hidden Power Dark. And the reason why we're going to go Hidden Power Dark is we are doing an optimized playthrough, which means an optimized playthrough, we can actually play through, we can actually use a Pokemon. I'm going to see if it'll, yeah, we'll load it up real quick. So I'm going to go ahead and showcase this really quick, and this is part of my methodology. And we're going to go ahead and Generation 2, and I'll quickly scroll down and show you guys Piloswine and what we're going to be doing with Piloswine this week. And it's very fun. This is why I love doing Pokemon Crystal. There's so many options. So if I go down to stats, we'll go down to actual moveset. And you see the moves here. So when we started the game, we have Attack, Powder, Snow, and Endure. I'll show you that here in a minute. It is in there, I promise. But if you go down here to Egg moves, we can actually add in one of these moves in our optimized playthroughs. So there's two that stand out. Ancient Power or Rock Slide. This would make it so we don't have to use Hidden Power Rock. And we don't have to use Hidden Power Rock, but we can actually make our DVs better. So I'll go ahead and go back to this. So look at our DVs. So this is what I mean by Hidden Power Rock. Our attack stat goes down, our defensive stat goes down, and our HP goes down. Because the way, I don't know how Hidden Power is calculated, but it's basically how these add up and it dictates what your Hidden Power is. So if we go Hidden Power Dark, everything's maxed out. We have the best possible version of this Pokemon, which is what we're going to be using in our playthrough on Wednesday. Because we can go to moves, and so we see our starting move set. We have Horn Attack, we have Powder, Snow, and Endure. But we can also come here and we can add Ancient Power. Where's Ancient Power? So you see here in the green, these are the moves that the Pokemon usually gets. And you see the moves here, the moves that Pokemon can't get, but you can still add them to it. See a little red triangle there with an exclamation point there. that basically says, like, warning, this Pokemon can't use it. However, it's not going to stop us. So we just hit set, and now this Pokemon has ancient power, and it's all set up exactly the way we want it. So that is how I set up the Pokemon. So if you want to do like I do a what if scenario, where what if this Pokemon had this move? Like, one of the best ones I've done is what if what if Marowak had its Generation 2 move pool. So in Generation 2, Marowak has Headbutt. Marowak gets access to Swords Dance, so on and so forth. Marowak gets access to a bunch of other things. What if what if we don't want to do Nido? What if Nidoking had access to Dig? So if you don't play through Pokemon, if you haven't played through Pokemon Blue in a long time, Nidoking and Nidoqueen don't get access to Dig. They are ground type, but they don't get access to Dig. It does not make sense. However, another good example, actually a better example, is Aerodactyl. Aerodactyl in Gen 1's garbage. It gets Wing Attack, and that's like really its only move for a long time. And then you can get Hyper Beam, but like I did a what if it gets access to like Rock Slide, and then all of a sudden it becomes this Pokemon that takes like an hour to beat the game, and now it beats the game in like 45 minutes or 40 minutes or something like that. It just makes the Pokemon better. So this is where you would edit those things, is you can edit that. So if I wanted to give this Pokemon Flamethrower, I can just click Endure and change it to Flamethrower, and it automatically updates the PPs. You can actually click the PP ups and automatically give yourself the advantage of what if I had more power points. So Ancient Power only has 5 power points. Let's say I wanted to give it 3. PP ups, now it has 8. Let's say I want to give Horn Attack 3. Now it has 40, so on and so forth. So you can modify all those things here. I'm not going to do that, but you can do that. So now we look at its stats. This is where we want it. And these will be our stats to start the game. So when we start the game, this will be what's displayed when we do this. Meat, yeah, like I said, I don't have to do anything. Okay, so now, let's say we want to add a Pokemon in our box. So let's say we're doing some kind of playthrough, and we don't want to deal with picking up HM friends. This is just how you can do it. So Abra, let's just click Abra, and then we can go down here to stats, and I randomize those, and now you can change the stats. Now, if you don't want to move in that spot, you just hit none. So for example, for Abra, if we were to do this, I usually want teleport first. Or if you're just like, maybe you want to play through and you want to pick your team, like maybe you're trying to play through with like, maybe you're trying to play through with Red's team, and you just want to put Pokemon in the box that you can pick up after the first gym or something. You can just do that, and let's say, Flash, and none, and set. Now, in your Pokemon box, in your computer, Abra will be there. You can set up, you can put as many Pokemon as you want in there. You have multiple boxes, so if you're trying to fill the Pokédex, maybe you want to start the game with a full Pokédex. That way you can get some items or something, you can do that. That's perfectly in there. So that's how we do that. And then, like I said, party is what's actually active, like on you whenever you're traveling throughout the overworld. And then other, I've never actually used other, so I've never used the daycare feature on here, so not something I've ever used. So here's the next one. So this one, I've never used a bunch of these, but there are some in here that do come in handy. For example, when I play Pokemon Crystal, and I'm being transparent here, I go to items and I go to max repels, and I give myself max repels. The reason why I do max repels and then do it this way is because in Pokemon Crystal, the overlay that I have, in Pokemon Blue, let me rephrase this, and the overlay I have basically makes it so there's no wild encounters. So I like that methodology where we eliminate all the factors that can add time other than like the Pokemon's playing through and like losing battles, or battles are more difficult, whatever the case may be. And in Generation 2, it only goes up to a certain, like basically Union Cave is the cutoff where we can eliminate wild encounters. So I give myself max repels just to help that factor and keep it as honest as possible to avoid. In Generation 2, you actually have a lot of problems with spinners, so you can't always be perfect when it comes to time, but this is something that helps when it comes to wild encounters. I played through on the first playthrough, and I've skipped over like a whole bunch of spinners. Like when you go from Goldenrod City to Union Park, there's so many spinners in that area that you can get caught by. There's literally like, 4 or 5 different trainers that you can get caught by. You can also do it when you're going from the forest to Goldenrod. There's a bunch of spinners there. You can have situations where you can hit none of them, and then in your optimized playthrough, you're supposed to go faster. Now you hit all of them. It's just, there's so much inconsistency, but max repels make it consistent that I'm not dealing with wild encounters. That's just how I play. You don't have to do it that way. You don't have to like that or do it that way, but it is how I do it. If you want to put anything else in the PC, maybe you want to put a TM that is hard to get to, and you just want to have access to it when you're allowed to get it, whatever case may be, you can put it in there. You can put items in there. You can put more potions. You can put berries, whatever case may be. You literally can put anything in the game here. And then you have a whole list of TMs. you literally have everything. I don't use a lot of this stuff, but you can do that. I'm just showcasing what you can do with this software. And so, like I said, max repels would be what I have, so save. And then the only other thing I modify here, I said it earlier, I said trainer info. Just in case I forget, I can come here and hit instant. Now our text flashes immediately instead of it typing it out. So it does speed up that aspect of the game a little bit early. If you want to add more money to yourself, you can do that right here. Anything else you can do here that I do? Use battle effects? No, I turn those off. So I didn't modify. I usually modify that when we start the game, but there's no point in doing that. But I can modify that here. So right now we don't want to go for set because we're doing a solo playthrough. We don't want to have text come up asking if we want to switch it into our HM users. So set, and then sound. I don't use the sound anyway, so it doesn't matter. So save. And that's pretty much it. I don't use anything else with this. I don't think event flag. I've never modified event flags, so I don't even mess with that. Pokédex. I think you can click everything just so you can have a certain number. Like for example, in Gen 1, you have to have caught 10 Pokemon before you're allowed to get Flash. If you just want to click that and say I have this in my Pokédex, it'll go ahead and let you get Flash. For example, if you want to go that route. So that's some of the modifications you can do. I don't really do a lot of those. Like I said, my methodology is pretty straightforward. So once that's done, so now that we have our party has Piloswine, and let's say we just wanted to have the Abra, now we go and export save file, and we call it whatever we want. I call it the Pokemon Piloswine 1, and you have to put this .sav every time. You have to put it every time. Now, when I do this, I actually do about 3 save files. So in case something happens, there's like a huge mess up, or something happens during the playthrough, I can just go back and just reload it and restart. But in this case, if I was I actually already set this up a long time ago, so I'm just showcasing you how I would set this up. So now that's done, we can actually exit out of PKHeX. We can go back into Pokemon and go ahead and load up Piloswine, and it will load it up. But I'm going to show you one more thing really quick. So we're going to let this sit here for a second. And now we're going to go back to our files. And I got to bring that back over here real quick. And let's go ahead and hit back. And now I'm going to show you the software that ScottStats uses. That helps. Actually, I just passed it. So right here, Pokebytes Web. You're not going to see it pop up, but I'll showcase it here in a second. As soon as it pops up, yep, there we go. So Gen 2, we click Pokemon Crystal Depreciated, load it up, and now it actually shows everything. It shows his name, the Pokemon, Pokédex number, what level it is, experience points. It should have none. I think it says a base amount. It moves, and you can modify all this stuff. So if something happens in the playthrough and you accidentally save over and move, I've done that before. You can just go back in and put it right back in, and you can have items showing as well. So there's a bunch of stuff we can do with this, but now that this is on here, I can go ahead and move this out of the way. And I can go ahead and showcase another program. Let's go back. Now this is where you just got to decide what you're going to do when it comes to software. Now I use a software from ScottStats, old software, and I have ones that I use. So in Generation 2, I use Generation 2 Overlay. I think it's the best one that I have. And I'll go ahead and load it up for you, and I'll showcase what it does. So there's Piloswine, and like I said, I'm going to go ahead and click New Run, and we're going Hidden Power Dark, so just make sure that's correct. So on the right side, you'll see the move is modified. It changed it to Hidden Power Dark. Now here's where you can do a lot of things. We're playing Pokemon Crystal, name JD, player name, test run. You can be refilming mode. I don't know that. I've never done that. I just play through normally. This is our timer, so you can pause and start, or it actually starts the second we load up the game, usually. But we didn't have this open when we load. I'll show you in a second. And we can do open splits folder. I don't usually do anything with that. I do new run, so I'm going to go ahead and hit new run. There resets the timer. It showcases our moves. It showcases our berry. Showcases our resets. But I'm showing you like what's underneath. So temp number 0. I haven't done anything yet. Finish number 1. Go ahead and just back that out. Blackouts. It showcases that. Showcases our Hidden Power Dark. It showcases how it distributes the DVs. And then we got our encounter settings. So if I wanted to have every wild encounter possible, I did this in the Swinub playthrough, the one I started with Swinub, where I had these two enabled, and then the rest of them were not enabled to have wild encounters. So I don't think I'm going to need it up with Piloswine, so I'm going to leave that as it is. And I don't usually do first run, follow-up, or day. You actually can go night and get a couple extra battles if you need to. So for example, when you're around Goldenrod City, there's 2 police officers, and if you talk to them at night, they get spooked and attack you with an Arcanine. so you can get a couple extra battles in if you go night, so that is a possibility you can do. And then on the right side, your color palette. When it comes to optimized playthroughs, my favorite color is orange, so I'll always pick orange. I think it just looks nice. I think it looks the best on this overlay. It looks the best by far. So you can go any color you want. So you can go blue, and you can actually make it a softer blue. You can make it a darker blue. If you want to go dark here, I don't like the dark ones. I don't think they just don't pop as well. Pink, you can go purple here. And yeah, I think this and pink actually look exactly the same, so there's no difference, but you can soften it up a little bit if you want to. I usually like to go for orange. Orange to me is like the best looking overlay. I think it just fits perfectly. And a couple other things. You can change like how the Pokemon's offset there. You can go up and down, you can make it bigger, you can saturate it more where it's a more vibrant color, you can make no saturation, flip it, you can move the Pokeball underneath it, you can move that anywhere you want. You can change the background, so there's a couple different ice backgrounds. You can do both of those. There's a whole bunch of stuff you can do here. It gives you a lot of customization. You can go with legacy colors, but I like to go with current. In the stat arrangement, you can arrange it however you want. I like to do it this way, and stats automatically showcase whenever you're badge boosting or when you're modifying them, or when you get yours modified if someone leers you. And then there's a bunch of stuff down here as well. You can change battle graphics. I just always do battle graphics. I don't do inventories when we're not in battle. So when we're on the overworld, it'll always show inventory. I don't show, move pool will always be showed. And then splits, I don't look at that, so I'm not too worried about it. And it gives you a couple extra options here. You can do bonks. So bonks is when you run into like a wall. I don't like to use that. I do like to use a repel counter. It does tell me how many steps I have left, so on and so forth. So with this overlay, and then when we bring up the actual game, it's not showing it right now, but whenever we actually do like a playthrough, you would see. So I'll go ahead and switch to this. So when we do the playthrough, now it looks like that. It's completely flush. It looks exactly how we play through. It looks nice. And then we literally can just hit. Actually, I'll go ahead and load it up one more time and show you exactly how we get this to look and say hit new run. And once I actually click into the game, the timer starts automatically. See? And now we're playing through Pokemon. Super easy, barely an inconvenience is what I like to say. And then we play through Pokemon. And we can completely avoid all encounters. Like I said, we'll pick up this, come on, berry. Pick up this berry here. Woo! I'm going so fast. I'm playing on the wrong screen. The screen I like to use is a screen on my left. I'm using the one on my right, which is where it's displayed in a program called OBS. And it's kind of a second delay. That's why I keep running into stuff I've never run into. So now we're talking and then I'll just talk while we're doing this. This is not going to be part of my playthrough. Like I said, I already have the setup and everything I need for it. I didn't even do all the setup stuff I do. But anyway, come on. I'm done talking. Hurry up. And like I said, this is the reason why I decided not to have any wild encounters. You're going to see exactly why here in a second. It's because we're going to obliterate our... Even though our rival is going to have a Totodile and we're weak to Totodile, in this battle here, we're just going to obliterate it. We even beat the Cyndaquil pretty bad, but let's go here. So you're seeing a lot of this. This is me just hurrying up and showcasing a quick battle and how it showcased everything in here. So look at our rival has his stats up. He has everything showcased, has his moves, and then we're going to go for Ancient Power. I think Horn Attack Rock should probably do a little bit more. Yeah, it'll be a 3-hit on the Totodile. Very good. We get the win, get the knockout, and we move right on. I'm not going to talk any more about this. I'm going to leave that as it is, get out of this, and go back to the actual overlay part where I'm showcasing everything. So, oh, my bad, wrong one. There we go. I hope this gives everyone a little bit of perspective on how I set up my videos and set up my playthroughs. Like I said, there are other ways to do this. There are other programs out there. They're actually getting into Generation 3. I'm going to have to learn a new system because I'm pretty sure Chucky doesn't work the same way it works in Generations 1 and 2 that it does in Generations 3. So that's something I'm going to have to learn. But it's very simple. If you can get those programs downloaded, exactly what I showed you is exactly how it works. It's very simple. It's very easy, and honestly, if you go to Scott's Discord, all the stuff is available on his Discord. He's not selfish about it. He's very much willing to be a sharer of the software he's put his time into. So I very much appreciate it. He definitely upgraded my videos using his software. I used to just do an overlay and stretch the playthrough to like look like a Game Boy or something like that. That's how it originally was. Actually, You give me a second and I'll show you exactly how it used to look. So I used to have 2 different looks on my videos from a long time ago. So give me a second, I'll load it up. Yeah, give me a second. I'm just skipping through back to a time when I used to use a different overlay. I mean, nothing wrong with it. Definitely very a little more basic than this. Let's see, how far back do I go here? Is Hitmonlee was definitely the new overlay. Let me go back a little further. I think this one might have been. So let's see. Yeah, let's go and look at that. Okay, nope. I gotta go a little further back. That's fine. Yep, let's go a little further back. Let's go with the Azumarill. Yeah, I think Azumarill had the old overlay. So in the old overlay, Azumarill. Yeah, so that's how my old overlay was. And then my really old overlay, if you want to see that, that's how my old, and it showcased nothing. All this stuff was just like a picture, and then I stretched the playthrough over. See how the playthrough's stretched and it's not the normal square format like the Game Boy was? So that's one downside to it. And the other down, well, this isn't really a downside. It got the job done, and I didn't dislike it, but it is what it is. But I can showcase stats and things like that. But with the real-time stuff, you can just see it in real time, so it's much nicer. So let me go back a couple more things on here, and we'll see a bunch of videos from my old overlay. I think you can go back and look at these and see my old overlay. And let's look at Mew. I think Mew was the old overlay as well. Yeah, look like a Game Boy if I remember correctly. Nope, okay, Mew was not like that. So I'm gonna go back a little further. Yeah, so the old overlay was Game Boy. It looked like a Game Boy. So you just kind of see where I've come from. So this is how I actually, the oldest overlay I have was not very good. Half the screen was game, half the screen was stats. Wasn't very good. It was split right down the middle. It wasn't very good overlay. Wasn't very visually appealing. But this one I thought was visually appealing at least, because it looked like you're holding a Game Boy when you're watching on your phone. So that's a little bit of the evolution of the methodology. So you can see how Pokemon Randomizer and then using an emulator worked. And then I was able to get it on here. I just had to make it fit into the overlay with the Game Boy. And yeah, so that is my video, folks. That is how I set up my videos. This is how I get it done. So I'll go ahead and exit out of that, and you can see that. We'll actually go back to the last part here. So anyone that was expecting a video this week that was Starmie, I'm still going to get you a Starmie video. It's going to come out this coming Friday. On Wednesday, we do have our optimized version of Piloswine, so you kind of saw a little bit of a teaser into that. So I hope you tune in for that playthrough. It's going to be very fun. I actually think Piloswine is going to obliterate its first time. Swinub really is a garbage Pokemon, but with starting out with these better moves, I think we're going to fly through the early game. That's going to give us a big time advantage. So I hope you tune in for that. And then, like I said, next Friday, we have a playthrough with Starmie, and we only have 2 Psychic types left in Generation 1. So when it comes to that, we only have 2 left, Starmie and Slowbro. And then we're going to be able to wrap up the Psychic types. I do have to do my second playthrough. I still do second playthroughs for my Poison types. I just haven't had time. The last couple of days have been pretty hectic. My daughter got up yesterday at 3 in the morning. I was hoping to get this done yesterday. My daughter's up at 3 in the morning. And she's not exactly a quiet kid, so it's hard to do a voiceover with her sitting here. But it is what it is. But I spent 34 minutes jibber-jabbering about how I set up my videos. I hope this is, for those of you that were looking for this video and looking for something that's going to explain how I set up my videos. I hope this does good for you. And like I said, I'm pretty confident. I didn't actually check and see if you can download PKHeX anymore, but I know you can download Universal Pokémon Randomizer. So at the very least, you can change your starter and play through Pokemon with a new starter. All right? Let me just think in the comment section down below. This is JD. This is Paul World's Wrath. Have a good one. I'll see you guys on Wednesday.